So young black men face special challenges. So joining me now to talk about this, Mr. Charles Blow, CNN political commentator and New York Times op-ed columnist. Sonny Hostin, CNN legal analyst and a former federal prosecutor, and Mississippi rapper David Banner, who had some pretty controversial things to say on Twitter in the wake of the shooting of Michael Brown. And David, let's start with you. Let's get this out of the way. I'd like to address something that you wrote on Twitter that got a lot of attention, saying that it's not only cops who seem to devalue black lives. You wrote this. You said, "Our situation is more psychological than people will admit. Black kids kill black kids for the same reason cops do. They see no value." And then that was retweeted about 5,000 times or more. And you also tweeted this. You said, "Black men have to watch what color we wear, what hood we are in. The cops, whites and blacks, no hoodie, no white tee, no loud radios. Damn." So many took you to task for that. Do you think that what you wrote was taken out of context? Explain what you meant by it.
Well, it was definitely taken out of context. And first of all, on Sundays, I always dialogue with my fans. I always push my fans to think. And at the time, that had nothing to do with what was going on in Ferguson. So, but it still applies. What I was saying is that white cops do not see value in young black men. And the reason why a lot of young black men, not all black men, kill each other is because they don't see any value either. So many people have bought into this Americanized system, and America historically has always tortured, killed, and enslaved black people. And I have not forgot that. So in me saying that, there's a reason why we don't see value, but it's different because cops are paid to protect us.
All right, so I want to keep this to parenting, so let's talk to some parents now. So Charles, you have 3 kids. Right. Do you warn them, you know, that they will be treated differently because of their skin color? I'm sure you do.
Well, yes, but I mean, I think you have to be judicious. You want to give them enough information to keep them safe, but you don't want to overburden them with so much that it breaks their spirit. And like any other parenting role that you play, there is no rule book. You don't know exactly how to do it. You ask around. You go, you know, maybe you're in your barber shop, or you talk to your own parents about, you know, how do I deal with this? But it's a very delicate thing because it can rob a child of the experience of being a child.
Do you feel that your child is devalued by the system as well, not just police officers? And if you didn't have a talk with your kids, do you feel that you would not be a good parent by doing it, remiss in not doing it?
Well, I think that there's an important distinction to be made here, which is that you have to look at this problem, look at the tree and see, not just see the fruit, but see the root, meaning you have to look at the systems around what is happening and the context in which the violence is occurring, whether it be intraracial or extraracial, and how that is happening, whether that be community violence and whether that be structural violence coming from authority figures. And I think that is part of what David is getting at, and I'm not trying to speak for him. And I think, you know, that's very, very important to put into context, because on the one hand, on the community violence level, you can teach a child to say, avoid this tough neighborhood, avoid that group of friends because I think those guys are up to no good, avoid behaving this way, comport yourself this way, and it can make a difference. However, the skin that you are born into is an immutable trait. It cannot be changed, nor should it be changed. And that means that is where the frustration comes when you say that there's an architecture that looks just at the skin, and people in authority can then take that and profile you based on that, and that's something you cannot change.
And Sonny, I want to bring you in. You are a mom. You have a son. What conversation do you have with him?
Well, you know, I think we can make this pretty simple, because the bottom line is we're living in a post-Trayvon Martin, post-Zimmerman trial world. And any parent of color, Latino or African-American parent, must have these conversations with their children. It is just really a reality. It's the same conversation, I think, that many parents have about stranger danger. It's the same conversation that parents have with their children about look both ways before you cross the street.
But if you are a parent... Because I'm having a conversation about stranger danger with my kids, and I say, don't get into any cars, don't go with somebody if they
but my point, Allison, is when you are a parent of color, the conversation that you do have those conversations about stranger danger, but you also must have the very normal conversation that we must have, which is you've got to realize that people will see the color of your skin before they see the content of your character.
Right.
You've got to realize that you've got to make sure when you have these police encounters, if you're going to have them, and you probably will have them, that you have to make them as short and sweet as possible. Yes, show your hands to police officers. Yes, be very respectful.
Sonny,
and unfortunately, I don't think that white parents have to have those conversations.
I want to ask this because, Sonny, listen, let's have a very real moment here. Do you remember the Michael Dunn verdict? And do you remember we were talking about Jordan Davis? And we were so upset by it.
I'm still upset.
Yes, and a lot of people in our audience understood, and a lot of people didn't. And I was coming at it as a journalist, and also, but as a human being, as a black person. And you were coming at it as a black and Latino mother.
Right.
And many people didn't understand that, and I got a talking to by some people.
I did too. And the bottom line is that I see my child, I see my son when I see Trayvon Martin, when I see Jordan Davis, when I see Michael Brown. I feel their pain, I empathize, and I realize that there but for the grace of God goes my child. And what do I do to protect my child? I've got to have those discussions.
If the death of Robin Williams can affect me on the air, so can the death of Michael Brown or Jordan Davis or any of this, right? Yeah.
And so, David, it sounds like what you're saying is that there's some level of personal responsibility, and it's not fair because white kids don't have to do this. But you do have to look at what you're wearing, and you do have to look at how you're walking, and that's just the reality.
Well, honestly, I disagree with that, because you tell me what didn't Trayvon Martin do that our parents teach him? He did everything that he was supposed to do. He acknowledged that he was there. He got on the phone. He called somebody. He said, hey, you need to get away from me. He ran away. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you put your hands up, you tell them that you don't have a gun. The thing that America is telling our children, and this is the sad part, that black folks, if you don't make me comfortable, we will kill you. That is the part.
But as a parent, as a parent, and it is sad that as a parent, you do have to, in a sense, trample upon their innocence. But your job, your duty as a parent is to protect your child. And one of the ways, in my view, that you do that is having these very real discussions.
But I also think,
what about making our children men?
I also think, because, hang on, everyone, we only have a very few seconds left. Charles, can you wrap this up? Because we were talking about Michael Brown as well.
I also think, though, that it is a very dangerous message for us to send to our children and for America to send to any child who lives in America that your skin can emit a threat response in another human being, and they can feel justified in taking your life.
We have to wrap it up
Charles,
there.
it's a little naive,
we have
though,
to wrap
if you
it up.
don't
Thank
tell
you, guys.